Hey y'all, we got to talk about the CJRB Pyrite. I picked one of these up and I couldn't resist. The price is really, really good on these. And so let me just unbox it while I'm talking. I'm going to give you the quickest high-level overview ever. And then once I have done that, there's some other stuff I want to talk about, but I want to give you the bottom line stuff up front. And then I want to talk about a little bit of social media drama that happened around this company. And I want to then nerd out a little bit about the knife steel itself, but let's talk about the bottom line. So one, the Pyrite. CJRB is a brand of artisan cutlery. So when I talk about artisan cutlery or CJRB, I tend to use them interchangeably in case you were wondering. This comes with a nice little cloth, a snack, the knife itself. The interesting thing about the Pyrite is there are multiple variants of it in terms of color and blades and blade steel and sizes. This is the small one, and it is one that has their AR RPM 9 steel. So nice little packaging, nothing over the top, kind of cool. I'm going to put all this back. The Pyrite itself is a small, very lightweight, kind of elegant knife. And I wanted the black one, although you can get plain satin, you can get gray. I think there's a couple other color variants. I'll put this up and set this aside for another time. The knife itself is metal scales, and it's a button lock. And this one's a Wharncliffe style blade. There are other blade profiles as well. Seriously, they have a ton of variants of this knife. And it's super lightweight, it's neat, it's kind of a cool little put it in your pocket kind of knife. It is reversible pocket clip. I'm going to reverse this in a little bit. Only one method of deployment really is use the hole with a finger flip. Well, I lied. Actually, you could probably do the middle finger flip. Yes, you can do that. And if you wanted to get crazy, you could hold the button and flick it out. So 3 methods of deployment. I like, in general, the company. I've had very good success interacting with them the past couple of times I've had any need to interact with them, and for the most part it has been pretty cool. Like nothing major, like nothing broke on any of their product. They were very responsive to me, and so I very much liked dealing with them in that regard. The steel that they've got in this particular variant is the AR RPM 9 steel. And what I really like about that particular steel, it is a budget price steel. It is a very inexpensive price steel, but it performs on par with many mid-tier steels. A lot of people say it's probably about the equivalent of a 440C. I'm not going to go deep into the steel nerdery right now, but suffice it to say, the other knife I had that was this particular steel sharpened relatively easily, held an edge really well, was reasonably tough and easy to resharpen. It was pretty tough and durable. You know, not along the lines of a really high-end steel, but guys, for the money that you're getting into this knife, you're not going to get that level of performance anywhere else with what this knife delivers. So I like the steel a lot. I was super happy with it. And so when I saw this knife, did I mention the crazy, crazy bargain? Oh, the middle finger flip always gives me the hardest time. That's one that I struggle with. But when I saw the price on this, I was like, I gotta get it. I gotta get it. And if you're like, well, you know, the bargain steel that performs mid-tier doesn't interest me, I'm more interested in a higher end steel, they've got you. CJRB has multiple variants of this knife, including some very high-end steels. Oh, I still can't do it. I can do the thumb. But so if you want to spend more cash and get more knife, you can do it with this knife. You can get a bigger one, you can get a different blade profile, and I'm really jazzed with this knife. I'm not really going to go crazy in depth. I'll just kind of, first part of the video, just wrap this up and say I really like it, and you've gotta, if you're interested in something that's small, elegant, maybe you want one in steel or brushed instead of black, but you have a lot of options, and so I like quite a bit. Oh, I got the reverse middle finger flip, that worked. Now, as far as the other stuff I talked about, the social media drama, because there was some social media drama surrounding this knife. So here we go into the weeds a little bit. Laren Thomas of Knife Steel Nerds came out with a video, and he said that he thought that the marketing was somewhat misleading around the knife steel itself, AR-RPM 9. He said in his estimation that the 9 was supposed to be the number of elements in it, but that wasn't correct. And he said further that it was not powder metallurgy, which they claim or claimed in their marketing materials, that when he did a microscopic examination of the steel, that based on the carbide sizes and the way everything looked, that while it wasn't traditional ingot metal, that it looked much more like a spray metal kind of presentation. And spray metal, without going deep into it, like I'll link to the video and stuff somewhere, is kind of a hybrid between ingot and powder metallurgy. It gives you some of the benefits of powder metallurgy in that the carbide sizes are smaller, but not as small as they would be with true powder metal technology, a la Crucible and a few other companies. So Laren Thomas puts out this video, says, hey, here's my findings. I'm taking Artisan Cutlery / CJRB to task regarding their handling or marketing of their steel. Cool, I get it. And Laren Thomas knows his stuff. Like, he makes almost everybody in the steel world look like idiots. If he tells you something about a steel, it's probably darn true. He is the guy who invented MagnaCut, by the way. I digress. So Artisan Cutlery came back in a very classy move, said that Laren Thomas was correct and that their marketing department had kind of misstated, and they weren't exactly correct, that there was a misunderstanding in how they were discussing the technologies used, and that indeed Laren Thomas was on point in terms of what he saw, and they were super gracious about it. Like, I gotta love Artisan Cutlery. Like, they could have either ignored it, they could have taken him to task, turned it into some sort of beef on the internet, because, you know, the internet is good for beefing, but they did not. They said, nope, you're correct. We'll see what we can do about revising our marketing materials. You know, we're super proud of the steel, but it is not, you know, it's not probably exactly what was originally spec'd. So that said, kudos to Artisan and CJRB. I thought they handled it very nicely. And now let me nerd out just a little bit about the steel itself. A lot of people have said that this is really some variant of 9CR18 MOV, which is a Chinese steel, most approximately kind of in the same ballpark as a 440C, which I mentioned earlier. But understand that when they do the spray metal tech instead of ingot tech, it shrinks the size of the carbides, it makes the steel tougher, and it's certainly a very stainless steel to begin with, so it's pretty darn corrosion resistant. And like I said, for my own informal, very informal testing, like hacking up cardboard, resharpening it, you know, stropping it, I found this to kind of, at least in its behaviors, the way I saw it, to kind of behave in the same realm as some of the Sandvik steels, like the Nitro V, kind of in that vein, maybe somewhere around VG10 or 154 CM. So a good mid-range steel, not, like I said, not bottom tier. Like some people compared it to D2. I wouldn't compare it to D2, maybe in terms of edge holding, but you know, this is actual stainless metal, and D2, and I've railed on it many, many times. When it comes to resharpening, I hate D2. I think I would rather punch myself in the face than have to resharpen D2. And yes, I know I have some D2 knives, blah, blah, blah. But in general, I very much like AR-RPM 9. I think it is an astoundingly good steel for the money. Heck, it's a good steel, period. But when you start adding in the price versus performance, it really, really starts to shine. It is a spectacular steel in that regard. And so anytime CJRB or Artisan wants to kick out a knife in AR-RPM 9, especially one in this price point that's nice and elegant and clean, and in the lightweightness, and I don't know if you can see that, like I'll probably post some close-ups, but the scales have no liners because they're metal scales, and they are nicely milled out for weight. And so, you know, this is, you know, not quite in the realm of, say, a Benchmade bug out, but it really has that ability to just kind of disappear in your pocket where you don't feel like you've got a big chunk of a knife, but you've got a very capable knife in terms of cutting. You can choke up on it. So if you need to do some very fine tasks, and with the Wharncliffe, you know, not that I'm saying you should be performing surgery with this, but if you have to do some digging with a point, you know, the Wharncliffe really excels when it just has much more of a point. And I'd almost call this a modified Wharncliffe because, look, it's not a perfectly straight edge. It is, there is some belly to it. So in terms of pure slicing or other tasks like that, I think that hybridization of the blade profile really gives you kind of, it's hard to say best of both worlds, but, you know, gives you some of that belly, but still kind of that almost same straight flat profile. So I like the presentation of this knife quite a bit. I think it is a neat little knife. I very much like the color match pocket clip. It's a deep carry clip. It is reversible. I like the button lock. Some people don't care for the button lock, but I very much like button locks. I think they're very elegant. You know, if I were gonna carry some knife out into the woods and use it to hack through things or baton through things, it probably wouldn't be a button lock and it probably wouldn't be this knife. But this knife was never really conceived of or designed, to the best of my knowledge, as a hard use outdoors knife. This is a nice, elegant, but very capable knife that I think would be at home in a lot of places and not be too big to really carry easily and not so small that it cannot perform some tasks. I think it's a good balance. Did I mention the price point on these is usually pretty sick, and there are often discounts or sales as well. So really, at the end of the day, I feel like Artisan and CJRB have hit yet another one out of the park. And look, if you don't want the bargain version and you want something that's several $100s, they've got them. They have some very pretty elegant versions of this knife. So it's another thing that I really like about CJRB is they are very good about not just one color, one size, one blade style, is that for their more popular offerings, they give you a wide variety of choices to really kind of fit your mood, your aesthetic, or your actual needs. Anyway, guys, I'm going to end this here. I've probably talked about this knife way more than you are caring to hear about. I'm impressed. I'm happy that I bought it. I did buy this out of my own funds. Nobody sent me this knife. What does allow me to purchase these things is subscriptions to my channel, views and likes. So anytime you would like to help me out in any of those regards, it really kind of gives me the wherewithal to pick up things like this, try them out, and present them for you. I will end this here. Ladies, gentlemen, thank you for watching. I appreciate you. Take care, stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon.
Get 'em, Jay.